Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is John Bunn, and I'm joined today by my best, goodest editor buddy, the one and only Blake Polino. Blake, how in the heck are you, my friend?
What's up, man?
You're here.
I want to disclaimer this and let everyone know that John texted me 10 minutes before this, and he said, hey, do you want to come on the podcast with me and our special guest buddy? And I said, yeah, absolutely. And so to show how much I truly love both John and our guest, Jay Worsley, on the show today, I was watching Tiger Woods return to a major championship and stopped watching Tiger Woods play golf, which is one of my favorite things in the world, to come on this. So just threw a camera on the desk and hopped in and forgot to wear headphones. But how are you, dude? What's up?
I'm great. Nick just got on an airplane 20 minutes ago, or he's getting on it right now to go to New York for the week. Next week, you and I are going to Guatemala, so we're recording a bunch of episodes, but you and I are shooting a wedding in Central America, and really excited about that. We leave in a few days, and we're going to do some photo shoots and some video stuff, and I'm pumped. And Tiger Woods is in Tulsa right now. I'm going this weekend to watch him play, which is crazy. I'm not going to lie. I have another iMac on my computer or my desk, just like a little bit out of the way that I can see right now, just on the side, just watching Tiger finish up his first 9 on opening day of the PGA Championship here as we record. But yeah, I'm so inspired after chatting today with Jay Worsley. He is a commercial filmmaker that used to do weddings, still does weddings from time to time. I met him at Venture in 2019, early, and man, we just connected, and we've texted and audio voice messaged and just became buds and good friends over the last few years. And I'm just always so inspired by his perspective and just the way that he looks at things and how he just pours his soul. A really timely episode, if you ask me, just talking to so many people that are feeling burned out, and talking to so many people that just don't feel inspired or feel like they're making cookie cutter work. And today's episode is going to help you with that. Jay is the man. He's based out of Phoenix, Arizona. He travels all over the world. He does commercials for Nike and for the Four Seasons and for like all these different major companies. He's got some feature films up his sleeve. And I know, Blake, he's a really good friend of yours as well.
Yeah, super good dude. So I met Jay, a few years back, went to one of his workshops when I was just getting started. And when I first met Jay, I was really honest with him. I was like, hey, I'm excited about this workshop, but I just paid to meet you. I just wanted to come and hang out, and gotten to be good friends with him. Have had the privilege of working with Jay on some of his commercial stuff and getting to shoot some stuff for him when he has stuff that happens down here in Texas. And we both share our mutual hatred for the Dallas airport. So just like super good dude, and appreciate you letting me hop on here to get to chat with him. Just so insightful and present, and just such a cool thread that we see among some of like really, really top creative people is just like how deep and present these people are about how they feel and what they do. So man, just like super great conversation.
Yeah, it really was. And if you haven't followed Jay, if you don't follow him, head over to his Instagram, find his work, be inspired by what he does. We had him on, I think, episode 6 or something, and Nick got to host just Jay, and I was jealous. So I was like, hey, Nick's going out of town. I want to get to host Jay. So here is this week's episode with Jay Worsley.
It seems like there are new cameras and equipment coming out all of the time. It gets increasingly confusing, and the FOMO is real. John and I have been preaching for years that the best way to try out new gear is to rent before you buy. There is only one place that we recommend when it comes to renting, and that is our friends over at Lens Rentals. Lens Rentals is the premier source for renting not only camera equipment, but lenses, drones, projectors, and more. Do you have a big project coming up and you really need to wow your couple? Wanting to test out the newest camera before you drop thousands on it? You need Lens Rentals. My favorite thing is that if I love something I rent, I can keep it. They apply a portion of the rental fee to the purchase price, and within a few simple clicks, the gear is mine. So head over to howtofilmweddings.com/lensrentals and use promo code HTFW15 at checkout for 15% off of your order. Lens Rentals, the only place we recommend renting.
All right. Well, welcome back to the podcast. The one, the only, the super famous and very handsome Jay Worsley. Jay, welcome back. I think you were here, on episode number 6 or something? But anyway, welcome back.
It was episode 6. I've been on 2. Episode 6, and then when it was like the 4th venture
Yes.
in Colorado, that was a good one.
That was a good one. You've been around for a minute. For those that don't know you, you said like you've been around for a second. You don't do too many weddings anymore. Why don't you just tell people kind of what you do, what you specialize in, what you spend your time doing, what you care about?
What I specialize in, man, that's a good question. I don't even know what I specialize in. Okay, so I started weddings in 2011, and that was my first wedding. I did it for free, and that was when highlight films were just like getting popular for weddings, and just kind of snowballed after that. I did hundreds of weddings, and then I realized like my passion was just in creating stuff, and I realized that there's so many more opportunities outside of weddings. And when I realized that, I just kind of dove headfirst into pursuing, creative filmmaking outside of weddings. And that went into commercial business. I went into original work. I went into indie filmmaking. And I'm trying to think of like what I specialize in. I think what I specialize in is I've lost the fear of just trying something that my heart's leading me to. I feel like so many people get reserved and fearful of like, oh, I can't do this because, or I'm afraid to do this because, and I've just kind of thrown that out the window. And if I want to do something or try something, I just go for it. So yeah, I think that's what I specialize in.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to have watched you. I mean, I've known of you for about 5 years now, and watched your work and see you put out these things. And if I were to describe, the things I see, it's just like moving is a word that comes like it's always very moving. It's very heartfelt. It's very passionate. The short films that you've put out that I've watched, every time I see you putting out something, I'm just like, like we were just talking about before hitting record about, the movie, The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, and like how deep that is. And I would just say you're like, that's almost your lane, like when it comes to like just creating stuff that's just like so next level when it comes to the feel. I remember you putting out like your short film during COVID, just like, oh my God, like we'll link it in the show notes or whatever, but like just watching you progress as a creative, knowing you, having met you, I wanted to like talk today, I wanted to have you on because I just feel like sometimes we forget as filmmakers, like why we're doing what we're doing. We get so in this groove of like, yeah, I got to get an establishing shot. I got to get a shot of the dress. It's like just this stuff instead of like people and why we're doing what we're doing. What would you say to the audience just about like finding your why and leaning into it?
Well, I find like with my why, it's evolving as I evolve, what it started as when I first started doing weddings to where I'm at now has completely changed. And I know 10 years from now, my why is going to completely change. And I'm open to that. Like, I love that feeling of, growing where like I might have thought I was going this way, but I'm growing and I'm going this way. And my reasoning, it just changes and evolves. But, my why does have kind of this root to it that's always kind of there. A big reason like why I do this is because I have this kind of obsessiveness in my head with feelings and emotions, and whether that's somebody else's feelings or my own feelings or somebody else's emotions, my emotions, and I just have to show them. I have to get them out. I have to have people try to understand them and feel them too. And so whether that's with a wedding, I want, like, if it's with a wedding, my goal is not to make like this crazy, beautiful, wedding film that gets all of my peers to like me and like what I do. Because honestly, the weddings that I do now are either NDA weddings or I just don't even post them on my website because I don't advertise that I do weddings anymore. So it's like, it's not for the views. It's for the couple to feel like, to remember what they're feeling, to watch that film and just be like, it's like when you smell something and you're taken back to a memory, you know, that I want them to experience that same kind of thing with weddings. Or if I'm creating a short film or original work or a commercial film, I really just want people to experience what I'm experiencing.
Blake's here co-hosting with me. This is fun. Nick is in New York today, like we mentioned earlier, but Blake is here, and Blake's a good buddy of Jay. So I said, hey, Blake, come on the podcast. Sorry, Blake, go ahead.
Yeah. I love that you say that. So I think about Jay a lot. Don't want to weird you out with that.
No, that's not creepy at all. No,
it's not creepy at all. But I always think about, I always think about Jay's become a good friend, and I love working with Jay and always inspired by his stuff. But I always think about something that, this thought that I had after working with Jay the first time. I went to a workshop that he put on, God, what was that, 2019? 2018?
Yeah.
However long ago that was. Yeah. And I left from that. It was about commercial filmmaking, but I took this into wedding filmmaking, and so much of the emotion that you put into films, it's always made me think when I do weddings, if the only person that could watch this video was the couple that I'm filming it for, how would I make this video? And I love to ask people that in the wedding industry, because I think we get so hung up on creating our films for other wedding filmmakers, right? So like whatever's really trendy, or what we think other wedding filmmakers are going to like, or what's going to win us an award, or what's going to win us notoriety with other people. And I always see that in your work, that it's always like emotion first, and very like driven by what the actual story of that is, and not really worrying about, you know, what people are going to think. And the end result of it ends up being something awesome that people in our industry do love and do appreciate. But I just wanted to throw that in there as a tangent on what you were saying. But there's something I want to talk about that I think is really, really interesting, and I want to ask you about it. When going back to talking about your why, and this is what I think about when I say I think about Jay often, is lifestyle creation. Like, and you and I have talked about this a good bit. It is creating the lifestyle that you want to live, and creating the work that you want to create, and doing the things that like you get excited about doing. And kind of talk to us about that. Like, share your kind of your thought process on that. I always think it's interesting. And when I think about, you know, exit strategy in wedding video, if there is one, or transitioning into commercial, or because I think we all find this, like, we really have a drive to want to make stuff that we want to make. And you've done that for yourself. Like, you've really carved out this path where you get to make stuff that you want to make. You know, you create a good living for yourself and your family and your 5,000 kids and your dogs. And so tell us about that. I love to hear your story on that.
5,000 kids. I only have 4. Floberg has 4 kids. You know, nobody.
I joke that Floberg has 5,000 kids too.
Yeah.
I thought you had 5 kids, just for what it's worth. There's so many. That's a lot. That's a choice. That's a lot.
They all kind of just blend together.
That's not true. They're all special and unique.
They're all 4 individual.
They're all crazy.
All 4 or 5 of them, however many there are, they're all special.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's be real with like how we present ourselves on the interwebs. You know, if you go to my Instagram and you look at my like last 12 posts, that's like from 2018 to now, you know, and that's like a big, you know, social media no. But I only post like certain things. I don't post like a million, you know, whatever. And then you look at like website, and website like shows like all this like picture perfect kind of stuff. So if I'm real with you, 80 to 85% of the work I do is not exciting work. It's like boring corporate work that feeds my 5,000 kids, you know? And so, but we present ourselves in a way of like, look at all this like creative stuff that I'm doing. Unless you're Eric Floberg, where this is the case, like, you know, where he's always doing something amazing. I mean, that guy's just, I love that guy. But like, you know, I think people get this idea that they have to be doing everything fun and creative, and they have to have like every piece of their work be this like epic thing. And when that doesn't happen, they get frustrated and they feel like they're never going to get there. And I feel like the reality is like really like there's a small percentage of the stuff that I do is where my real passion and the heart is. And that's the stuff I post about, share about, is that kind of stuff. So of course people think that that's all I do because that's all I share. But I think the reality is like if people can accept the fact that, you know, the bulk of your work is to just provide and make your business keep running and keep going. Once you accept that, it's actually quite freeing. And then it kind of leads you to this mindset of, okay, I can create more. I have the opportunity to, because I've been able to build this business and do all this crappy work that I hate. And then that just kind of starts to shift. You know, it's the slow shift, but eventually it's like all this sucky corporate work that you hate and your passion work that you do is slowly, it starts to transition like this. Just as you build your business and you build your wealth and you build your, you know, your who you are as a creative, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that. I love thinking about it too. And we have this conversation a lot with people like, what's your strategy? Like, are you going to be filming weddings forever? Or I have a hard time looking past like 3 to 5 years. You know, it's just always difficult for me on that. But you have built like this, you know, this commercial work, all this extra stuff that you're doing, but you've maintained like this passion about people, like what you're putting out anyway, the stuff you're passionate about, not like just this random commercial for this resort or whatever it might be, but the stuff you're passionate about, like you are doing more and more of that. Like the more I see you put that stuff out there, the more I'm just like, oh, like I'm connecting on like a soul level with you, you know, just like, okay, this is what this guy stands for. This is why he is doing what he's doing. I guess my question, like when we're talking about like wedding filmmakers or just if you're doing commercial work or whatever, what advice would you have to people that like are having a hard time leaning into maybe the emotion, the feel of a couple? Like any tips or thoughts that like you're going through your mind? You're just so good naturally at just like getting straight to the heart with people, but are there things that you're looking for, or like how are you making your projects not just about the details and more so about the people?
Yeah, you know, I hate to bring up the word feelings again, but I'm gonna do it.
Just three dudes talking about their feelings.
Three dudes talking about feelings. Yeah. Okay, so you know, I talked a little bit about this when you guys were here in Phoenix during the mastermind. We went on that very easy hike, and
I'm sweating just thinking about it.
but like, you know, tomorrow is not promised. Yesterday's already happened. All we have is right now. And if you can get in the mindset of like all you have right now, it's such a beautiful way to look at things, because it's not like this carpe diem kind of vibe. It's more just like this, like what I'm experiencing right now has never happened to me. This conversation that we're having right now has never happened. Like it's just slowly unfolding. And then I can pay attention to like what is unfolding. I become more like, I just become more aware of how people are feeling things, and I can lean into that. I become more aware of what's happening and, you know, just where their heart is. Because, you know, on a wedding day, you could say, oh, every bride's nervous, or every bride is, you know, there's always, like, I do say this sometimes, there's always the same characters at weddings. You know, there's the type of bridesmaid or the type of groomsman and whatever. There are some of the same personalities, but for these people, they've never experienced what they're experiencing. Like they've never, like, for the most part, most of these brides have never been in this situation. Most of these grooms have never been in this situation. And even if it is their second marriage, they've never had a second marriage, you know, like they don't know, like everything is just so new. And so you're looking at things with this childlike perspective of how it's just so new. And that's where it's, for me, that's why it's so easy to be like, oh, I can be aware and present in this moment and see how this bride is actually feeling. And I can just really pay attention to that. I can really just follow that.
I love that. I've had a conversation recently with a friend that was just like, man, I'm just kind of feeling blah about my weddings. Like the venues aren't super great. I've been doing this for a while. I think at a certain time there's, people that are in like that 3rd to 5th year of their business. It's like, we've been doing this for a minute. Like I'm working last weekend. I'm working next weekend. But I like what you say just about like this childlike wonder and like being in the moment. And I have to bring up The Secret Life of Walter Mitty as we were talking about it on the picture on your wall back behind you. Obviously, I think that's one of your favorite movies. It's one of my favorite movies. And the epic scene where, I don't know if it's a spoiler alert at this point, but like where Ben Stiller finally reaches the peak of this mountain to meet the person he's been trying to meet, who's this photographer, and like the photographer's been sitting there waiting on this animal to show up, and like
a very rare animal,
a very
ever
rare
shows up.
Animal that you don't just get to take photos of, and there it shows up, and instead of taking the photo of the animal, the guy just sits there and watches it happen. And he's like, Ben Stiller's like, what the heck? And he's like, sometimes I just take a moment for me. Like sometimes I'm just here for me. And we were talking about before recording, like instead of just being, on your phone with your kids and taking a photo of them, just like be in that moment. I think sometimes we forget that this is like a real moment for people. Maybe we've been in the Facebook groups too much, or online too much, or on social media too much, and it's like, man, this isn't going to look good on my reel. Like this is, and you're like, it's kind of a gross way to be looking at their wedding, right? Like, oh, this isn't, I did a wedding of 3 weeks ago or whatever, and it's like, they're not going to be a couple that I put on my website. They're not going to be, it wasn't this big blowout, but like their story was so sweet. And like, I just remember sitting there, they did a little backyard wedding, and they spent their whole budget on me. They just wanted, but like he was from overseas. They couldn't have the wedding because of COVID. And then finally, and it's just like this beautiful story, and like watching the mom see her daughter come down the aisle. And even though there was only 20 guests there and it wasn't like this big, brand builder for me or whatever, like I've learned to just be inspired by those little moments, watching the little flower girl that's her niece running around during like having that wonder while at a wedding. So that's really good stuff. I guess my next question just be like, how can we find these moments? What are you doing to find these moments? How are you staying centered enough to basically be able to be seeing these moments?
Well, I think it comes back again to that awareness, because we can get so distracted by the location, especially with elopements, because elopements are in these beautiful places and everything. But I don't remember who said it, man. It was somebody, I can't remember, but they were saying like, if you can take your couple and just like swap out the background and nothing changes, you're just a bad filmmaker, because at that point you're just filming mannequins in different locations. And it always comes back to this couple where the location doesn't really matter. Sure, they're eloping next to a waterfall and they want a few epic shots, but what if they were just getting married in the backyard? They're still the same people. They're still like the same, couple. They still have the same story, the same love. So I think like it's so easy to get distracted by these epic locations, or trying to make that Instagrammable moment, or trying to make this brand piece. But I think it's actually more powerful if you can make a backyard wedding seem like this tearjerker of a film, because you're so entranced with the couple. So I think for me, it was always just coming back to being aware of what's unfolding in front of me with the couple, and not allowing myself to be distracted by, I got to get this shot, or this is the film that's going to be the one that gets me the Ray Roman type of films. And I think it sucks. It's that we get lost in that. But once you drop it, next thing you know, your films are like the Ray Roman films. They are like these, crazy pieces of work, because you're not distracted by that stuff anymore.
Yeah, I think it's so easy to get hung up on that, because we're in this weird industry in that our product is also our marketing a majority of the time, right? So what the thing that we actually make is what also serves as our marketing. So like we want those like really awesome beachside, top of Yosemite type of shots to be able to market that. But in reality, that's really not what people are hiring us for. And some people are, like some people want to be able to like show that off. Or I know John and I talk about this a ton. It's like when you start to do some of the higher end weddings, there are some people who like really, really want you to show off how much money they spent on a floral display.
Yeah,
and,
that's what it's about.
yeah, and that's what it's about for those. And then, but at the end of the day, there is still like a ton of emotion and like real storytelling that we're trying to do in it. And finding the balance of that has been really, really difficult, I think, for a lot of us, right? Because we want to be able to market, because we're in this weird place where I always say this about like destination work or celebrity work or anything like that. You can't do it and nobody wants to hire you to do it until you've already done it. Right. So like if you're wanting to be able to film destination stuff, you can't do it until you show that you've done the destination stuff. Or same with celebrity weddings, if that's your jam, like if you're into that kind of thing, that you can get into that. But anyway, I want to go into kind of a completely different direction. I love getting like deep and emotional and all of these things. And one of the things I've found as we get to hang out with some of the best filmmakers in this industry and some of these really, really cool creators is there's this split. And that's what I want to kind of ask you about and how you manage this. And when you look at growing your business, and John talked about being in that 3 to 5 year range, and I see it happen a lot at that point, where I feel like there's a fork in the road. And you can correct me on this if I'm wrong or misjudging this, but you get to a fork in the road with your business, whether it's wedding or commercial or whatever it is, as a creative, where you're like, I really want to lean into being super creative, or I want to really lean into building a business. How have you found balancing those two things? Because I feel like you get in this like, okay, if I really want to scale this business and make it something big, I've either got to go off and build this like volume brand studio and have people working for me and scale it up to this, or do I want to go and what I sometimes will call the Jay Worsley method, where like I want to be more boutique and I want to charge a lot for it, but I want it to be really, really creative and really impactful. And how do you view that? Do you feel like you came to that split in the road, or were you just kind of like, screw it, no, that's not didn't happen to me?
Kind of. It's easy to get stuck in growing your business and then still chasing to grow it and chasing like, I need more. And like my wife always makes fun of me for this, but every year I do the same thing. Like when things get slow, I just say yes to everything, because I'm just like, things are slow. What am I going to do? I gotta book some stuff, otherwise I'm not going to be able to feed my 5,000 kids and what's going to happen? And then what happens is, because I've said yes to everything, like once all those projects come in a few months, I'm just like exhausted, overworked, overwhelmed. And sure, I've got money in like a good amount of money in my bank account because I said yes to a lot of things, but at what cost, I'm just tired and I'm grumpy and got bags under my eyes and I'm impatient with my family. And so I think, it's easy to get stuck in trying to grow your business and continue to book work and say yes to like a lot of stuff. And it feels good to be successful. But I've realized for me, like, take all of that away, take my business away, and then who am I? Does this business really define me as who I am? And for a while, I probably would have said yes. And, I'm at a point now where I can definitely say, no, my business doesn't define who I am. And so with that, I've realized I can provide for my family and let my business grow how it grows and say no to things if I want to. But the things that I really want to do, I have big goals. Okay. And one of those goals is to make feature-length original films. And I have 4 feature-length films that I've written, original ones. And I've told myself, I'm giving myself 10 years to make 4 original feature films and get it signed with like Hulu or Amazon or Netflix or have A24 take it or whatever like that. So now that I have that goal of something I want to do creative, the business can be the business. I at least know in the back of my head, like, okay, I still have this creative thing that's for me. And if nobody picks up those films, that's fine. I don't really care. like I'm still gonna make them because I really want to make them, and they're phenomenal stories that I really care about and I have a lot of heart with. So I think for me, it's just kind of that fork came to, does my business define me as a person? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, there's nothing wrong with that. I wouldn't ever look down on anybody about that. Um, if that's the case, then like, yeah, go that route of making it, of growing it, saying yes, and building that wealth and everything. And if the answer is no, great. Like figure out what does make you or define you as a person and who you are.
Yeah, man, I love that. We've been having a lot of mentor sessions with people. We had one of our mastermind students that we met with yesterday. She was just saying, like, I'm feeling burned out. I'm feeling like kind of alone over here in our industry. I mean, it's like especially wedding filmmakers, it's like you go film a wedding out in the real world, then you come home and then you're like at your office or in your house, just like editing away and like pouring your heart and soul into something. And like the couple that she had given a wedding to a month ago finally got back to her and said, "We don't like it at all. We want you to redo the whole thing." Your dog's left, I think so. Your wife opened the door.
I'm just like, it's so quiet in here.
But anyway, that mastermind or that mentor session that we had, she was just like, yeah, they just told me they don't like the film. It's been a month since I delivered it. They want me to redo the whole thing. And she just felt completely deflated and completely like, in our work, you pour so much into it and you give so much of your creativity to it. And like, if your business is defining you, and something like that happens, it could really crush you, and it could really, and I see that happening a lot with people, like I said, like in their 3rd to 5th year of business, just because they're like used to like the weddings now, they're kind of getting in this groove. It might be getting a little bit boring. And that is a good time to like start exploring other things. But what I'm really loving about like the growth in my business is like the more honest I get with myself about what I want and why I want it, the more that I'm finding like this fulfillment in being at a wedding that's not a brand builder and just being so happy to be there and to serve the couple, or being on a shoot, and to me, being like this whole wedding filmmaking education brand, how to film weddings, the Facebook groups online, it's easy to get sucked into like, well, Blake is making films that are like this and mine aren't as good as Blake's, or Jay is making a film like this, or I need to edit it this way so I can like, appeal to people. And like, I've noticed as the co-host of How to Film Weddings, it's like my style of film is not as attractive to the How to Film Weddings audience as like Nick's style of film, right? And so like when we're doing polls or we're doing whatever and people are like, who's your favorite filmmaker? It's like, I'm never on that list for wedding filmmakers. Like nobody's ever like saying that. And so I had to realize for a while that it's like, if this was an NDA wedding and I'm just making it for the couple, would I still want to do their wedding? If I'm not doing this for social media, if I'm not doing it, and that is how I've really started to shoot and edit. Like if I were making this for my family, what would I do? And things just kind of have worked out and I've booked the right kinds of clients. So what would you say, Jay, as in like leaning into just doing the things for yourself? Has that worked out for you? Do you do that more and more now that like you're more and more successful? What do you say to the audience out there about like really leaning into what moves them as a person?
Well, I said earlier, like 80% of the stuff that I do, I don't even post about or share about. And I kind of have gotten used to that because I mean, I honestly don't give a crap about social media, So when I go into a project, I go into it with the mindset of this isn't a brand builder or this isn't, a portfolio piece. And when you lift that pressure off of you, you are actually like way more creative and way more in tune and way more like excited and less stressed about it because you don't have this pressure of like, I gotta make this epic film for my portfolio to make my business grow. I'm just making a film where me and the client see eye to eye, and the client came to me and wants my creativity, and we're able to just like create something really cool that if I don't ever show anybody, great. If he shows stuff to people, great. But like, we're not in it for the portfolio piece. And the next thing you know, we make this thing and it ends up being a portfolio piece because we just like let that stress go, you know? I think we're in such a, like, the wedding industry, filmmaking industry is such a weird industry if you think about it. Like Blake, you were saying earlier, what we create is what we show as our marketing pieces. So if you like back that up a little bit, we are, I don't want to say exploiting, but we are showing one of the most intimate days between a man and a woman. And we're using that in ads, and we're using that in our websites, and their faces are just everywhere. And most couples are all okay with that, unless it's like an NDA thing. But it's just such a weird concept to think that we are using somebody else's story to make money and share, you know. It's just this weird thing. And then when you I've joked with people too about the wedding photographer and wedding filmmaker celebrities, you know, like some of them are, you know, like Ray Roman. Like everybody knows who Ray Roman is. Everybody knows White Reverie, and I mean, I could just go sculpting with time, you know, like there's all these like epic filmmakers. But in the end, like if you just go into like the real world, as I call it, outside of the wedding industry, nobody knows who these people are, you know. Nobody knows who David Reynosa is unless you're in the wedding film industry. So that mindset of like, okay, I need to make these brand portfolio pieces, or I need to be a celebrity in the wedding film industry. And you know, like none of that really matters, you know. And once you like let that stress go, your work is going to be so much better and way more what you want it to be, and represent you so much better instead of just trying to be something.
Yeah, I mean, it really is refreshing, and it's cool to hear from you, somebody that like has been super successful in weddings, and like you'll message me from time to time, and you're at a wedding, and you've got like your red epic whatever super expensive cameras, and you're just like creating something better than most anyone is going to make in the industry, but nobody's going to see it because you just want to share it with the couple, or you can't share it, and it's just not your thing. You're not like trying to just like, and there are people that it's like they need and want those accolades to look at. They want to be respected by others in the industry, and I think that's great. I just think that so many people, you know, with all the education that's out there now, with every, you know, the internet, remember, like you have to remember why you got into this in the first place and who you're doing this for, and all of these other things will end up working out for you. But if all you're doing is chasing the next trend, or you're trying to be impressive to other wedding filmmakers, and you just keep, this is a recipe for burnout and not being excited about what you do, because you're not doing something that really fulfills you. So I have a lot more I want to talk about with this, and we're going to do that right after this break. Nick and I have to tell you about one of our favorite places to upload our wedding films, and that is Love Stories TV. Love Stories TV is one of the best free resources for us wedding filmmakers. The best part is they are bringing the couples to us. All we have to do is upload our films and we are good to go. Upload unlimited wedding films to your completely free business page. Setup is easy and your films can be live in just minutes. Now is the perfect time to start uploading to Love Stories TV. So head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to check out all of the details and see how Love Stories TV is giving away $10,000 in cash to wedding filmmakers just like you. That's howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to start uploading and connecting with the right couples today.
Hi, it's Michael from Wedditor. We want to thank everyone for the incredible support we've received since sponsoring How to Film Weddings. Yes, we've had some growing pains, but we've had far more wins. And we're doing something that's never been done. We're a remote team of over 50 editors in 10 countries. I often joke that we're as much a logistics company as we are a creative company. Right now, demand is off the charts. And we don't just say yes to everyone and scramble to figure it out. That's why we're asking you to help us help more of you. In short, we're looking for more talented wedditors, part-time or full-time, work from where you want, when you want, as long as you hit deadlines and deliver quality. It's a chance to get paid while growing as an editor. Our project managers work with you, explaining why something feels right or doesn't, because there's always a reason. If you're interested, we'd love to hear from you. Go to wededitor.com/editor and fill out our form.
All right, we are back from break, and we are here with not only Blake, the editor, but Jay Worsley, the one, the only. We're talking about just like really diving into why you're filming weddings, why you're filming things in general, and how can you avoid burnout? How can you focus on what it is that really moves you? Right before the break, we were just talking about not trying to chase trends, not trying to chase other people and do what they're doing. Jay, how have you stayed fresh when it comes to just pursuing what your work is about? Are you looking at a lot of other filmmakers for inspiration? How do you balance that with like feeling like you suck and like you're not good enough and getting inspired? Like, what are you doing to stay inspired and not have that FOMO?
It's easy to get lost in the comparison game, which sucks. And, sometimes that's also good because it can humble you. I think people like look down on comparison, which you shouldn't do often, but I also think that we're going to go back to talking about feelings, guys.
I love it.
So I feel like we all have these feelings for a reason. Like, I feel like all feelings are created equal. They were created in us, and we experience them. I think it's how you react to the feelings. That's the important thing. So, like, if you compare and you start to feel a little bit down on yourself, like, I think that's okay. But then, like, what do you do with that afterwards? Like, do you just open up Spotify, listen to sad music, and stare at your computer? And not do anything from it? Or do you be like, okay, well, I saw this. I'm like, man, I wish I was doing this. Then it's like, okay, well, how can I do that? How can I get there? What can I do like to get there if that's what I really want? I do watch a lot of filmmakers. I still even watch some wedding films just because I do get inspired. Like when I watch Sculpting with Time stuff, I'm always just like, man, that is unbelievable what they're doing with weddings. And it gets me excited with like where the wedding industry films are going, but I'll also, I told you I want to make feature films. I would just watch a lot of movies and I watch them over and over again. Like I've watched Dune like 5 times. I've watched The Batman. I've watched The Batman like 4 times. And it's because I'm studying these films, and it's like when you watch something and you feel something, I want to be like, why am I feeling this when I'm watching this? So I'll watch it again and be like, what is it that's drawing me to this? And then it's not so much of like, oh, well, I'm going to copy this shot from The Batman. It's more like, oh, I really like how they set the stage for Gotham City and all this backstory and all this, source material to make everything so believable. And then that just makes me realize, okay, for me with my films, whether it's a wedding film or, a commercial film or whatever, I got to go back to, man, Dune and The Batman and Secret Life of Walter Mitty, they drew me in for these reasons. Okay, I need to focus on drawing my viewer in because that's what I want to do too. How can I do that? And next thing that I always like think about is with the comparison thing, what I love to think about is how, I brought up Sculpting with Time because, Alex, he's just amazing. He's such a cool dude. And it's easy to be like, I wish I could do that. But what's crazy to think about is on the flip side, like I can never do that. And he could never do what I do. And the reason is because I'm not him and he's not me. Mm-hmm. And I have my own perspective on things that he will never get to see because it's my perspective. And when I started getting that mindset of like, I'll never be a Ray Roman, or I'll never be a Sculpting with Time, or I'll never be a Steven Spielberg or Christopher Nolan, like, well, they're never going to be me either, And that's a beautiful thing. Like I'm going to have creative ideas that are my ideas that they'll just never have because I'm a different person with a different perspective. Mm-hmm. And focusing on that and like really seeing like, okay, this is my moment. Again, having that awareness of like, I'm the one experiencing this, not them. I'm the one here doing this, not them. What can I do with it? And that's really been a huge eye opener for me within the last like 5 or so years.
Oh man, that's so good. That's a cheat sheet for anybody listening. Like you can seriously cut some like a couple of years of sorrow and misery out if you want to take that advice and run with it. It's something that I've struggled with a ton in especially like as I was getting started because I got to kind of know people in the industry, and I went for a long time where I just couldn't watch other people's work because I was like, oh, it's so much better than mine. And like, I would come up with these excuses. I was like, okay, well, I just don't have as high quality weddings as they do. And I remember giving John a hard time. We were filming the complete wedding videography course, and he had just come back from Italy. And he was like, hey, let's go through some of this footage of his wedding. And I was like, oh my God, like, it's like all these really beautiful people on a yacht, like off the coast, of Italy. It's like just gorgeous. I was like, dude, you could have shot this on an iPhone and it would have looked fantastic. And at the time I was still shooting like a ton of East Texas barn weddings, and it's like everything inside is yellow pine. And like, I really would get, caught up in the comparison of that. And, it would, so I went a long time. I was like, I just can't watch any of people's weddings. But then when I would notice that I would be inspired by that. Like I would see things that like, oh, that's really, really cool. Or I would learn things that I was doing wrong or try to do better at things. But for me, one of the biggest changes in that was figuring it out that success is something different for everybody. Right. Mm-hmm. So like success for you two is different, has a different meaning than what success is for me, and success for sculpting with time has a completely different meaning than what success is for Steven Spielberg, right? And really figuring out what contentment means within that level of success is what was just a huge game changer for me. So like I wanted, when I first got in, I was like, oh, we're going to have this big company and like we're going to have a bunch of employees. And like despite having like John being like, no, don't do that. Like, like I've been down that path and it's not a good way to go. Like I still was like, oh yeah, we're going to hire these people and we're going to build this media brand and this company. And then started going down that path. I was like, oh, this is not what I want at all. Like this. And then like COVID hit and we temporarily closed our office and I was working from home. And I was like, oh, this is really nice. And then success for me changed into like wanting to be able to drop my kids off at school in the morning and pick them up every day, right? And being able to like be here when they get home if my wife goes and picks them up, and go hang out with them, and then jump back into some work or some emails or some edits. And so like success has really, really, really changed. And something I admire a ton about Jay is what he defines kind of success as. I mean, you're big into spending time with your family. I love that you do that. So what does success mean for you? Like, what does it mean to be successful? We're staying deep here, guys.
Yeah. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. It's easy to like think success as a dollar sign.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people do that. And I've been guilty of it too. And if that's where your heart is, that's okay. And that can be your definition of success. And there's nothing wrong with that. I found that like my definition of success is when I don't limit myself or restrict myself.
That's good.
So that could mean a million different things. That could mean like I'm not letting different roadblocks come my way to like actually like block me. I still want to go through that road and get there. So like to me, that's successful. When I do let challenges stop me from doing certain things, I find that it is very heavy on me. It's very harmful to me because it just leads down this path of destruction where I'm like, focused on the wrong things. And so I guess to me, that's what success is. And it really ends up enhancing all the other aspects of whatever it is I'm chasing after. So if I limit myself, then I'm going to limit the growth of my business. I'm going to limit the projects that I do, or I'm going to limit, whatever. If I limit my creative work, then I'm going to drive myself into the ground doing work that I hate, and then I'm going to end up hating my business. If I told you I want to make those 4 films in 10 years, if I limit that or I restrict that, I'm just never going to do it, and I'm never going to create it. So to me, I think, we only have this one life, and I want to be able to live it. I want to live it well, and I want to live it in a way where I'm not making excuses.
I love that. Like, I think that when I'm thinking about like people that are burning out or people that feel just like, I don't know, over the last 16 years of filming weddings, like I'm still passionate about going to shoot the wedding I'm going to shoot next week, because I have found like this rhythm where I'm not taking too many. I'm only taking the ones of people that I feel like I really connect with. They're like, I feel like they see the value in me and what I'm doing. They're willing to pay me. They look at me as not like a big deal, but more like, oh my gosh, I can't believe we have you at our wedding. Like, this is going to be so great. We've been following you. And like, I started to identify these things that made me feel the opposite of success when I was at a wedding and the family treated me really small, or it wasn't ever about me, but it was just like, was this air about the family. It was just like, oh, we have a lot of money and we're just paying you, get out of our way. But like, that kind of thing, as opposed, like, I would rather take half the amount of money and feel the success of like feeling like I made a difference in that couple's wedding day and they enjoyed it more. And like, over the years, like, I did feel burnout a lot, but I honestly can say, like, where I'm at right now, I feel very successful, because this morning I was able to get up and go swimming with my girls before this podcast. And like, I'm going to the gym after this, and like, we're going to spend time as a family grilling out tonight. And also next week, I'm going to be gone out of the country all week. And we've planned for that. And it's going to be like an epic trip that, I'm going to get to go on and explore Guatemala with Blake, actually. And like, like, there's this balance that I found because I've started saying no to the things that don't feel like success to me. I've started saying no to the things that don't inspire me or feel like the same thing that I've done 1,000 times. And I think a lot of us just don't pay attention to those spidey senses going off in the back of our mind or in our heart saying, like, don't say yes to this thing, say no. And it doesn't make sense because you need the money or the thing. And so this conversation is super inspiring for me. Jay, the time is running out, but if you have any final words of advice, any piece of advice for someone out there that's maybe in their first few years or have been doing this for a little while, when it comes to staying passionate about what you're doing, what would you say to them?
I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. It's just owning the fact that nobody has your perspective. Only you are the only one that has that. Because leaning into that, we idolize so many filmmakers. We put them above us, but they're still people, They're actually on the same level, same playing field as us. And we have things that they don't have, and they have things that, we don't have. And it's just this thing of like, just going back, and you're in this field for a reason. You obviously like want to create something, and maybe this is your stepping stone to the next thing, or maybe this is like what you want to be doing, and you want to just give it your all. I think it's just owning the fact that you took that step and you're doing it, and you're obviously, growing. If you've done at least one wedding and you've booked another one, you're obviously growing. So you're obviously good at what you're doing, or you're just getting better at it. And just like putting all that crap aside and just remembering that this is your perspective and no one else has that. And
It's so good.
It's just a beautiful thing.
I'm just taking notes. No big deal. No, this is super helpful and super good. I think just the timing of this being here in the summer, like people are getting into their weddings, especially the people that are on the Northern Hemisphere, just like getting into that summer season. When you're at your next wedding or your next shoot or whatever, really focus on that. If you're out there listening to this and saying, what can I take from this? Be in the moment, know that you're the only one with this perspective, and don't think, what would Jay do in this situation, or what would Blake do in this situation? More so, what is my perspective? What is my worldview? What do I have to add to this? What could I do that's creative that will invigorate you. It will keep you so far from being burned out, and it will also help you create work that also inspires other people and attract more of those same kinds of clients for you. Jay, before we sign off today, where can people find you? I know you said you're super active on social media, but if someone wants to get in touch with you, chat with you, follow your work, where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram is just my name, Jay Worsley, which I had to actually message the guy who had that Instagram handle and be like, hey, can we switch? I just want Jay Worsley. And he's this guy in England, and he's just like, sure. And so
Lucky.
He's really cool about it.
John Bunn on Instagram has never made a post, and he's an old dude that I don't know if he's alive. So John Bunn underscores me. But anyway, so Jay Worsley, your name.
Jay Worsley, yeah. That's my Instagram. And then I have a slew of websites. So my commercial website is saundersstorytelling.com. And it's not updated, but I mean, you can check it out.
I love it. I love the
don't post anything. Yeah. So just find me on Instagram. That's probably the best way.
All right. Cool.
I do my best to try to respond to everybody that reaches out to me.
You give it the good old college try. I love it. No, thank you so much for being on, Jay. Seriously, you're an inspiration to all of us. We all want to be like you when we grow up.
I want to be like you.
Not only in our fitness levels, but our beard growing and our success. No, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Hey, thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Jay, for being on the show. I'm leaving inspired. I'm feeling like I need to work hard to feed the 5,000. Great episode today. Seriously, I think that if the How to Film Weddings community would just listen to this message, focus on your perspective, focus on telling stories for your couples, not caring necessarily about social media and other wedding filmmakers, but how can you share your perspective with others. If you haven't already, be sure to check out howtofilmweddings.com. We have a slew of digital templates, guides, posing guides, consultation guides, all kinds of great things for you to check out. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, we will see you.
See ya.
Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films to your couples? Look no further. Our friends over at WedFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. WedFlow is pay per project with no large upfront cost or commitment, and you can cancel anytime. Not only that, WedFlow offers a premium viewing experience for your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years hosting and an experience for your clients that will blow them away. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way and give your couples something to rave about. Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/WedFlow to check out WedFlow today.